Here we go. My usual self of giving virtually no advanced warning of a stream. But like I said before, I gotta be in the mood. I gotta be on point, and I gotta have creativity flowing in me in order for me to say anything that makes any sense. So when I put that community post saying I'm not in the mood, that doesn't necessarily mean a bad mood. It just means that I'm not sort of mentally in a video making mode, is essentially what it means. And that's where I still am at. But considering the innumerable strange events taking place as of late, I have to, at the bare minimum, at least do a short stream, which this one will be about 30 minutes, and at least briefly overview some of these, what I feel are very contrived events taking place. And we're going to try to solve this and maybe tie some things together. And Loyalty, glad to see you. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I did this. And of course, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you know I'm referencing the balloons. I'm referencing the derailments, plural, because I actually read an article today indicating that there have been over a dozen train derailments in the last couple of weeks, and a lot of toxic spills of all sorts. Actually, there was even a overturned truck 7 miles from me that closed down a road in which this truck spilled toxic chemicals. So I think that it's not necessarily contrived by Illuminati just lurking in the shadows, deliberately sabotaging things, even though that certainly could be the case. I'll wait till the 5-minute mark and we'll get into that. Just wait, maybe see if anyone else comes on here. Just give them a chance. Omniverse, hello there. You saw a UFO that looks like a giant floating flame flying over Walmart about 10:30. There's been an insane amount of UFO sightings. Forget the balloons. Forget the objects being shot down. I'm seeing reports all over the world of abnormally high UFO activity, much more than usual. And there was a big sighting in Pennsylvania just the other day, actually. And Omniverse, you don't have to tell me where you're located, but I am certainly curious where you saw that. That's very interesting. I've actually seen UFOs like that before. I'm going to get into iPad Go 2 as well, because there is a connection, I believe, with the derailment in terms of acid rain. Okay, so you're like in the Baltimore area. Gotcha. Interesting. So that's not too far from this massive sighting, which happened in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, just the other day. Oh, yeah, Dan, it is a pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting to do this. And just a fair warning, I have guests, so there's going to be background noise. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I canceled Shane Bales, or we rescheduled for tomorrow. Shane Bales, for those of you who don't know who he is. Very interesting channel, very interesting person. Talks about a lot of weirdo stuff like me. He really goes into the aspect of technology a lot more, though. And he actually wants me on because he talked to a chatbot, a different kind. And he wants to talk to me about the chatbot I talked to, which I don't really anymore because it went full-blown boring on me. I'll get into that too. You're in Montana and the ship is still here above me. Oh, well, you're in ground zero, Loyalty. you're in ground zero. I mean, what can I say? Um, Getting into the balloons to start off with. Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely link it. Yeah, whenever it's ready, I'll share it. I'll actually. I don't know if he makes videos that often anymore, but he has a really interesting series on some really deep subjects. I mean, this guy is amazing. Um, um, I actually saw something really interesting about the balloons today and how the Chinese actually plan to manufacture thousands of them because they're as a sort of like distraction, or either a distraction or to carry payloads of all sorts of weapons. And they're going to be a pain in the ass for air defenses to shoot down. So there's a theory out there that they're planning to send thousands of these to Taiwan and the US and have us deplete our air defenses on them. And they actually are capable of carrying airborne or like biological weapons. They can carry EMP weapons. They can carry nuclear weapons. Like these balloons have it all apparently, and they're much cheaper than anything else. So I kind of makes sense to me. But if there is an actual ship, an alien ship over Montana, that wouldn't surprise me either. If these balloons are distractions from real alien ships, that's another thing that we should contemplate as well. What Dan really what do you mean really? Really in what context? Uh but so I've been thinking a lot about um the balloons and East Palestine, and just the name alone really bothers me. The East Palestine. So the word East references the East, the Middle East, Palestine, right? So look to the East, and I'm thinking to myself, look to the East towards Palestine. Is it a sort of quasi reference to Jesus? Is it a quasi reference to the Antichrist being born in the East? Are they igniting sort of the ring of fire symbolically with this derailment? I'm like thinking of all these things. I don't know, honestly. To me, it all just feels like it's super planned, is what I'm saying. Super, super planned, and not accidental at all. I gotta turn. Hold on a second. I mean, it's getting a little warm in here. It actually got down to freezing where I am yesterday. I had ice on my windshield. Dan, it got down to like 32 in Carlsbad last night. Uh, and but Lisa doesn't care. You want to see? Let me see, Lisa. Lisa doesn't care. I think she's pregnant, guys. Sorry to get off topic here, but she really calmed down a lot. She eats a lot more and she got heavier. So I'm theorizing that she's pregnant. So send her some good vibes. Yeah, she was just right here. I had to say something. So, what are your thoughts on these things? They could be a total distraction, a total fab, not only from real UFOs, but from this actually what is very seldom talked about right now, and that is a very massive buildup of armaments and troops in the Baltic states and in Poland, where they're literally getting close to the border and amassing like almost as if though they're about to invade. So, apparently, there are sightings of like medical trucks in Poland and all sorts of things, like almost implying that NATO is literally about to go into a conflict directly with Russia, which sounds insane and completely nonsensical, but that's really what it seems like. I've been following this pretty closely, and I think on the anniversary of the first invasion, they are planning another invasion, but I think before that, they're going to have a really big distraction of some kind that's going to really dwarf the balloons and the derailments, possibly. That might actually be contrived by Russia in this case, in order for them to more easily set off their new invasion, a new campaign. I just kind of see that. I don't know, maybe not. War games. You think it's war games? Yeah, definitely, definitely. But and then actually, that could tie into UFOs to a certain degree. If they are alien races that are being spotted, they could possibly have foresight or vision into what is going on, or literally see into the future, and they're here attempting to prevent what amounts to the next step, meaning World War III. So that could be one of the reasons for the increase in the UFO sightings. They might be here to help, they might be neutral, they might be neither. I don't freaking know. But that is something to consider, I think. ETs will allow it. That will, I hope so. I hope so. We'll have to see if that's the reason they're here. I do believe that the balloons are part of that distraction, though. Um, so, however, about the derailments, it really reminds me of the power or the attacks on the power substations. If you guys remember, that happened like a couple of months ago. Um, if substations were attacked regularly, it almost seems like these derailments are being induced purposely as well. And in that case, I do believe that the possibility, if it's not, the Matrix or whatever doing all of this or contriving all of this, like Matt from Quantum of Conscience would say, if it's not that aspect of the reality itself creating it, then we have to look at the possibility of sleeper cells and saboteurs inside the country. And that's not actually, I feel really dumb for saying possibility, because it's not a possibility. It's a 100% certainty. There are tons and tons of spies here and tons of agents here that are probably analyzing things, coordinating things, mapping things out, planning things out, and creating these little headaches in the meantime. Like, well, they're not little headaches. I mean, they're big headaches in the meantime, as possibly a form of a distraction before they bring on the big guns, so to speak, or whatever that case may be. I do really believe that this derailment is incredibly underestimated in terms of how much damage it has done and it's doing to the environment. From what I've gathered, people like 100 miles away say that their water is contaminated, their animals are dying. More than 100 miles away. I mean, we're talking great distances away from that epicenter, where there is just mass death taking place. So, but, they're telling people to go back home. And I don't know if this is true, by the way, but they're actually tracking people as well. They're tracking the local residents over there to monitor their health impacts, which I thought was pretty interesting. So, kind of like the guinea pig Rona thing on a smaller scale. They see, okay, are they going to turn into mutant zombies or not from this derailment? I'm not saying that's what's going on, but I'm just saying, like, it seems very, very bleak over there. Have you ever delved into the olfactory world of distilled oils from agarwood? It's a meditative and natura positive diversion from overwhelming panic that surrounds us. No, I do take CBD oil. I actually got this really, really strong CBD oil right now. So I think that's a little bit helpful. Um, there's other, minerals and vitamins and stuff that I take, and I eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, and I do plenty of exercise. So I'm not saying I'm like a health enthusiast over here, but if you could tell me a little more about that, I literally never heard of that in my life. That sounds pretty interesting, though. I mean, yeah, in terms of a positive diversion, I'm sorry to sound a little bit, dark here, but it's just been a really bizarre few weeks that truly feel like these these sort of things only happen in the Mandela world, Dan. like like I don't know. It just in the previous Earth, it was stupid and ridiculous in its own unique way, but it seemed less of a clown show. Right now, it literally feels like a movie, which is really odd. It literally feels like somebody's watching us and we are inside of a movie and they're going, wow, look at that. Whereas before in the previous reality, it was more like our own previous reality. This place feels like it belongs to the movie makers and they're making a movie out of us. And that's apparently literally true with this movie called White Noise, which after the stream, I'm going to watch. It doesn't seem real, right? Yeah, I totally hear you, Loyalty. It doesn't seem real. It seems completely like every not only grand scale events. It seems like our lives are planned day to day, coordinated, planned, and streamlined lives that are like computer coded. I don't freaking know how to explain it. Distilled oil from agarwood is called oud. It is a scent that you can apply to your body. The scent is literally magical. And attar, a scent that you apply to your wrist, neck. I'm going to have to look into this. This is pretty interesting. And so you're saying it has, positive effects on you, or I mean, what does it do exactly? Yeah, man, Dan, it feels surreal, dude. Like it feels freaking surreal, and it gets really hopeless sometimes because this place just gets so just exhausting. Like it drains you. This thing drains it just sucks you dry somehow. Even though you try to not let it do that, it still somehow manages to do that. And that's kind of bothersome. I mean, I don't know. So anyway, I was talking about White Noise, and I never seen it. Everyone was talking about it. They say that literally that movie was filmed in that same town, and the movie was about a train derailment. And in that same town where the movie was filmed is a real train derailment. So I want to know, like, why? Oh, it's Danny. Look at that. Thanks for coming on. I'm actually gonna go pretty soon, but I'm glad you're here anyway. I'm gonna be a little bit shorter today. A spanner. What's a spanner? Different languages. That's interesting. Well, I can tell you, different languages definitely will help your brain develop and help sharpen your mind as well, which is one reason why I read books or try to read as much as I can and things of that nature, because I always want to keep my mind sharp, but languages would definitely help you with that. What is a spanner, Danny? I don't know what that is. Anyway,
can I sleep over at their house?
I'm doing.
Sorry.
That was funny though. I warned you guys. I had guests. Okay, so you've been warned. So what can you expect? They're changing our own language. It's good to read Old English. Oh, that's so true. It's good to read Old English. It is. There's something like different, like more empowering. Like not even that. I'm not talking about Middle Ages English that you won't even understand. Like just read something like from Thomas Jefferson's era. Actually, I'm reading Morals and Dogma, and I know that's controversial, okay, but I had to. Like I just have to read this. And it's a really good and interesting critique on society actually. Actually, his writing style, what's his name again? Albert Pike is really similar to Mark Twain in that he really has like this kind of a negative view on society, but in a really pragmatic way in terms of like he understands people very deeply. But whenever he's not talking about society, he's talking about Isis, Osiris, and Horus. And I'm reading, I'm like, what he's saying are literally some of the visions I had from a few months back, which is creeping me the hell out. But I got a little bit off topic. What I was saying was that that English style is elegant, is beautiful. It doesn't feel disempowering like modern English. It feels actually more empowering. I don't know how to explain it. Just read some stuff from the 1800s. You'll feel what I mean. You'll see what I mean. A scent is a reminder of the beauty of nature, distant yet familiar, a beauty accompaniment, a positive morning affirmation, and or a mid-afternoon workout. Huh. That's cool. I'm liking that. Making a new neutral pathways help me influence reality in a good way. 1950s. Oh, that English from that era was kind of funny. From like the 20s to the 50s, to me, like I mean, just watch an old Twilight Zone episode, and they just sounded funny to me, honestly. Spanish has changed quite a bit, especially the words and tenses. Hate to have to do this, but you guys got to give me like 20 seconds because I got to see what they're up to. Just hold on. Is he really spending the night? Yes, no way. No way. Scopa, no. And you're making too much noise. Stop. Are you done, Danny? No, I'm not. It's still on. Are you serious? Yeah. Anyway, there's some words that we don't use, right? Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And the words that we do use, have power qualities that are disempowering, which I'm sure you all know about the etymology of, the power of words and everything. But yeah, I don't know. How do we go from train wreck to words? I'm confused now. Anyway, this whole stream, I'm just confusing myself, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm glad there's people here and you guys are talking and everything. So, um, let's go. Let's go till 30 minutes, and I would like to hear your thoughts. So, Dan Beck, you said that this is war games with the balloons and everything. I certainly think that this is a possibility, especially since supposedly the balloon that flew or whatever it was that flew over the Yukon territory, it flew really close to a radar array that is used to detect ICBMs. So apparently in northern Canada, we have this huge line of radars and radio systems and all kinds of transmission towers that are specifically built during the Cold War to detect ICBMs. So this, whatever it is, flew right next to one of these. Again, reconnaissance, or they're gathering information, or they're seeing how good our defenses are. Can we catch these things or not? What do we do? It makes sense for it to be war games. It does. It absolutely does. or like practice runs for, EMPs or whatever it is that they plan to deploy or hopefully won't deploy. I hope. I don't know. Yes, and new technology or battle of human taking UFO technology. Yeah, I really have trouble believing that, if they're aliens from another dimension or another planet, that, they could take a hit from a missile and just doesn't seem to add up to me. Like, I know I shouldn't expect things to be like the movies, but it doesn't make any sense to me. If you can travel transdimensionally through portals, if you can travel through space and time, and be in this craft that maneuvers in any way, and yet you take a hit from a missile, it just doesn't make any sense. I think it would just take that missile and just like use it as a toothpick or something, or just like throw it back at them like the movies. But I just don't see any other way. All right, I will tell you my opinion on this derailment. Um, I think it was caused by sleeper agents or some kind of saboteurs for ritualistic purposes, or as a to signal to certain people of upcoming future events. I actually think that's what a lot of these are. So, in conclusion, here, even Rona and before that, and all kinds of events that have happened over the years, I think there's these sort of pre events that are contrived, and they, from that event, it signals the idea or the coordinate to the next event. Okay, I know you're probably thinking gematria. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about whatever is going on, there's an understanding of like a sort of butterfly effect, where if they can create one event, that it will create the likelihood that another event that they want to come to fruition. Okay. So let's just say there's an orchestrated mass shooting, that event takes place. What is next after that now has a lot more likelihood. It's like momentum. It's like this natural momentum that just sort of like this quantum entanglement of events, of one thing after another, and all of these events together conclude to something much more massive and much more specific in the long run. So they're very organized, and they seem chaotic. They seem completely just out of the blue and random, but I don't think they're random. Whether it is like Matt from Quantum of Conscious says, whether they are from the matrix itself or from the reality itself or its people, I don't know. I just think that it builds a momentum of specific events in order to turn out a specific outcome in the end. And this one is a big one. This derailment is a very big one, and it is like a key marker point. That's what I'm going to call them. I'm going to call them marker points to the main event, basically, is my theory and opinion on that. I think that's a great question, Danny. Great question. I think they're changing destiny. Yes. I think they changed their entire reality to this Mandela world. And in this world that they changed us into, because we're in this new world now, they could much more easily control and change destiny, whereas opposed to where we were before, it was a much more difficult and intensive process, whereas now it almost feels like it's natural. I don't know, but you said potentially a private inventor group breakaway created craft that have been shut down. That's a good point. That's a really good point that I didn't think of. Very good. Advanced, but not advanced enough to avoid destruction from humans. Yeah, we got to look into that too. That it could be, somebody's invention or somebody's, contraption that they just set up there. But I don't know. To me, it just smells of government and military stuff, kind of like Dan Beck is saying here. It just smells like war, like it gives off that sort of energy to me. But they describe the puddle jumper from Stargate Atlantis. I gotta see that show again. Funny how only those with the ancient DNA can fly puddle jumpers. There we go with that DNA again. It's kind of like the 100 too, with what are they called? Whatever those elites were called in the show that put the chip in the back of their head and switched bodies and basically stole people's lives. You know who I'm talking about, Danny. I'm trying to remember their name. They had a really weird name in that show, and I think that name in the show is actually what they're called in real life. I don't know why. That's just, I think there's some reality there. Fly through your thoughts and emotions. Yeah. Anywho, any final thoughts, anyone, before I go, as to what do you think is going on and the purpose of, or, is it the media that is just focusing too much on these things? But that doesn't fly with me either. I don't know. That doesn't seem to be enough of an explanation either. Night Bloods. They were called Night Bloods, the ones with the dark blood, which, similar to DNA. The ones with the dark blood, were able to jump bodies or switch bodies in that show. So interesting how that element of DNA goes with this. All right. I'll be back again randomly at a time I do not know. No, it's cool. Thanks for saying hi, Mr. Mirage. You feel like it's a distraction. Can't ramp up war without all this unemployment and intensive psyops. I know, right? Exactly. Final thoughts that the Earth's poles are in flux. Before I go, somebody said that they think that all these derailments are because of the tectonic plates moving, which is really interesting. I would have never thought of that in a billion years. And then we had that massive earthquake too, deadliest one since 2011 in Japan. We can fly through the sun. We have all the ability to use the body as a ship. Absolutely. We can do anything, really. There's no limits to consciousness, no limits to ourselves, nothing. Interesting though that you mentioned the Earth's poles. That's really cool. And yeah, I hope you're having a good camping trip or whatever you're doing, Mr. I'll call you Mr. Mirage for the show's sake, even though yes, I do know your name. All right, take it easy, guys. The sun is a portal. That's how I got here, right? Maybe that's how we all got here. Lisa says bye too.